Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. Already a AAA member? Upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Hello and welcome to the first live stream edition of the season with Bram Weinstein, the voice of Commanders. Of course, you can always check out our work at empiremedia.com. You can read my work on ESPN.com. You can hear Bram on Sundays and then every day with his podcast. So thanks a lot for tuning in. A lot going on. As you know, this show is presented by AAA. And don't forget my folks at Huel. That's my go-to drink, folks. When it gets crazy in the morning, get crazy this week, I can guarantee you I'm going to have my Huel chocolate shake tomorrow morning, 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals. Always really good. Fills me up. I'm good to go. So again, Huel. All right, Bram. It's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 games.
Yeah.
And it feels like what?
The last one was tough. The last one was really tough. The first one, I was very encouraged by the defense, obviously. Like the defense played so well against the Giants. And then, if you watch the Giants play the Cowboys, you actually feel better about that performance after the way they played. And then, I'm trying to remind myself here, John, this is a short week against a really good team. And they lost to a really good team on a short week on their home field, and a team that's really shot out of a cannon here, especially defensively. The 2 performances they've had on that side of the ball against Washington and Detroit, you could argue that's the best 2 defensive performances of the season so far. So I'm trying to remind myself of that, but it really was both sides of the ball. And I would largely say that this was probably one of the toughest defeats, if not the most sound defeat that I think that this group has had, since they've been here. It reminded me a little bit of the Baltimore game where it was similar. The score was close, but it really was lopsided if you really, like take into account everything that happened.
No, I agree with that. The big thing to me, less the game, it's the injuries. And obviously Jayden Daniels, but it's also Dietrich Wise, Austin Eckler, Noah Brown, John Bates. Like they avoided this last year, this level of injury or this level of negative health. And when it's happening in week 2, that's where the concern starts. So obviously with Jayden Daniels, we know he hurt his knee. We know it's some level of a sprain, clearly not very bad because day to day, and I've been told by a number of people that it's that he's okay. It's just a matter of what does the team want to do. So what do you think the best thing to do with him is?
So this is tough because I don't know exactly what the injury is, and having been around long enough that I'm an amateur orthopedist, if they told me exactly what it was, I think I'd have a better answer for you, at least of like, this is historically what teams have done in these situations with these various injuries, not to pretend that I'm a doctor or anything, but like, that's how I would answer the question. Right. The problem is, I don't know exactly what the issue is. Like, is it a bone bruise? Is it a ligament sprain? Is it a ligament tear? Is it a meniscus? Like, I don't know what it is. And all of those things vary. To me, like, I know this team goes out of its way, and I think, to protect its players. This one is clearly different, clearly different. The season goes sideways without him. I think we all know this. So this one is clearly different. But I do believe Quinn, every time he talks about any player and returning, he always says it's on repeat. We won't skip a step. We're going to do everything we need to do to get him ready to go. And if we're not comfortable with him going, we're not going to do it. And so I believe them here. And I think it's too early to do something rash because they're coming off of a loss. So I think they will protect him if that's necessary. And if they put him out there, I believe them that they don't feel like, short of a complication somewhere, that he's going to hurt himself worse, without taking an unforeseen hit. It'd be the way to put it.
And I agree with that. I think conversely, if he is out there, it's because they feel pretty good. So, and right now, like, I'm not even going to say where I'm leaning because, like, we don't know. We don't know enough yet. We do know when you start to say day to day, and we know that he's got to hit certain markers. I think they're going to protect him from himself. And I talked about this in the podcast yesterday, how different this is than the RG3 situation. It's a different it's a different level of sprain, but it's also, there are no underlying issues at play here. There were a lot of underlying issues at play at that time. So like this is there's a level of trust that if they play him, he's ready. If they're not playing him, it's because they just like, you probably could go, but it's a long season. And so I think that's, to me, what they're going to do is just protect him from himself. But if he does play, it's not because they're rushing him back. It's because they saw what they need to see. I just don't know that they're going to see that, Bram.
No, I don't either. And, this is Mariota I was just putting his numbers down because I'm getting ready for the game this weekend. He obviously played very well in the 3 appearances he made last year, 2 games with which he played a good amount. But this year is not last year. And their offense is not functioning that way. Hasn't throughout the summer, right? Jayden or no Jayden hasn't functioned particularly well throughout the summer. And then don't forget, he didn't practice the majority of the summer because he had Achilles tendonitis. He was one of the players that didn't get a lot of reps throughout summer. So all of this, concerns me. Like, I have felt for weeks that it would be very possible that this team, based on a variety of reasons, just the way they looked, the way they were clicking, and then all the moving parts with McLaurin's holding, Noah Brown's injury, Cosme isn't back yet. Tunsil goes out for a little bit. Coleman misses a lot of time. Like, I thought the offense might start slow. Like, and it doesn't mean that it won't hit its gear at some point. And I'm hoping it will. All these injuries adding up, I think, delays, hopefully, that process of happening, and we can get into that. But like, I'm not surprised that they started slow, especially against the defenses that they played early. I'm not surprised. Going to Mariota, like, I will hear out and they'll say we have full confidence in him. And off of what he did a year ago, you should. But he also is another player who didn't practice very much during the summer. So I am concerned. That said, I've watched the Raiders in their first 2 games. Their defense has a couple of primetime Pro Bowl great players, but they're not playing to the level right now that Green Bay or the Giants can, or what Green Bay did the other night. And so I'm hoping that short week Raiders, second East Coast trip for them in 3 weeks, that the schedule does them a little bit of a favor here, extra rest for Washington, and they just figure it out on offense and have a better performance than they did against the Packers.
And I agree with that. Hold on 1 second. Want to talk about to everybody for a minute. Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member? Add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. So a couple things too. And some people are wondering, like, is this some sort of a ploy to get the Raiders to prepare for Mariota? This is a real injury, folks. Like, this is not a ploy. We don't know if he's going to play, and neither do they. May like, if they may think he's not, and they'll keep that alive because for that reason, but it's not a ploy to get him to prepare for Mariota, because there's a real concern about his status for Sunday. And somebody else talked about the reports of Bill being inactive in week 1. There were never any reports of that. I had talked about wondering who might be inactive out of those 4 backs. And for a little bit, I wondered, would it be Krosky Merritt? And then as the week of the game, you're like, no, it's going to be Rodriguez. So there were no reports of that. And that was not coming from them. That was just trying to do some math, like knowing that they're not going to keep 4 backs active, most likely, and who would be the odd person out based on what we saw. And then then when you start to get more concrete information, that's when I turn to say it'll be Rodriguez who's out. Anyways, so
that depth chart thing was silly, John. That meant nothing. The depth chart thing was silly, and everybody freaked out about it, and it didn't mean anything. So and they never said he was going to be in. They don't tell you who's going to be inactive unless it's an injury. They never tell you.
No, and it was just like I said. It was just wondering who would be. And, you're like other people, like, we don't know the severity of this injury. We do know that I would say listen, man, I know Jayden Daniels well enough to know that if this coaching staff said, yeah, good, you're good to go, he's going to be out there. So this is not some severe injury, but it's enough that may say, okay, take a week off and then go from there. So, I would say, like, one thing when people talk about, like, the only thing they know, like, I kind of think I know a little bit more. I know it's not severe. I know there was an MRI. And we know that there's a chance he won't play this week. Beyond that, like they're not going to go deep in that because they're very guarded with that. So,
and why would
anyways,
they? They don't need to tell us anything. There's no reason to tell us what his game status is right now.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just going to be, it's rest, rehab, and just see. By Friday, we'll know. We'll have a good idea. If he's not out there at all, then chances are he's not going to go. But we'll be out there at practice tomorrow and get our first taste, and then we'll see. But there's a real concern about his availability for Sunday. That's it. That's all we know. So,
yeah, that's all we know. I don't know more than that. And I'm not, I don't, because they don't talk about it. And why would they? There's no reason to. And we'll see what happens. I am, but him or without him, I mean, obviously there's a concern about the offense in general.
Right. That's my concern, Bram.
Yeah. I think, especially I think the John Bates injury is a really big deal. They already said he's a long shot to play this weekend. Right. The Noah Brown injury, they're thin at what I would describe as reliable wide receivers. Right. That's the big deal. Eckler going out. I was talking to Logan Paulson about it, and he was kind of like, I don't want to minimize this, but they have guys that can pick up the slack for where he is. I personally love the reliability, the veteran mindset. I think if you're going to go to a go-to guy late in the game, you need to make a play. He would be the one I would choose of the backs. So I do think it's a big deal that he's not playing, but I'll hear out that they have the requisite people to kind of pick up that slack. There's no 1-for-1 with John Bates. So that changes how you're going to do things. There's no 1-for-1 on this team with Noah Brown, actually. Right. So that changes how things are going to happen here. And then if you're without 5, well, you're a completely different offense all of a sudden. So Cliff has gotten dealt a very interesting hand here early in the season with a group that didn't come shot out of a cannon for a lot of reasons and wasn't functioning terrifically with the group that they had in the first 2 weeks. So this is an interesting, I feel like it's survive in advance here. Just find a way to win. I don't even care what the score is. Just find a way to win, and let's get some people back, hopefully. And I'm convinced with Cliff and Jayden and all the players that they have, it'll come around. Right. But you can get in real trouble here with the injuries they have and the way that they're playing if they just don't figure out a way to win these early season games, especially when it's favorable matchups. West Coast team coming east, short week, and they're not a Super Bowl contender. You kind of got to win that game, figure out a way to do it.
Right. And here's the other part, though, too. And you brought it up. This offense, when Mariota came in last year, the offense was functioning at a pretty high level, both for the Carolina game and then for the Dallas game. Going into those games, they were playing pretty well, and they were in a good rhythm. He would be taking over a different offense now because we haven't seen that rhythm since the start of camp. And a lot of it's because of different absences, whether it's McLaurin, Noah Brown, Coleman misses 3 weeks, you have a rookie right tackle. So there's a lot of reasons for that. But the bottom line is they're not in that point, whereas when he took over last year, they were. And so I'll be curious to see, if he does end up playing, how does he handle that? And does it look, because he played really well last year. He played on time. He added the dynamic element as well. And he was really good. And, but what will it look like this time around? Because it's, all those injuries, really, the injuries concern me. And then, Josh Connolly's it's baptism by fire here for that guy. And it's so fun. And I would say it hasn't gone well. He went up against Micah Parsons. Now, Micah was on both sides that night. They were rushing in from both sides, but he's faced some really good pass rushes already. And he's got, unfortunately for him, it's brutal this week too. So, and without Bates, Ben Sinnott has been the one thing he does well right now is block, but he's not John Bates, and Colson Yankoff is not a blocking tight end either. Yeah. So you lose something there for sure. And, it's going to be a different kind of attack, but this is one, Bram, where they invested in that defense. They tried to build up that defense. I know they lost Dietrich Wise, but that shouldn't be enough to then turn you a different way. You've got to show up Sunday, and this is an offense that is the Raiders that is not functioning at a high level. No,
they have a quarterback who's thrown 4 interceptions in 2 games. All right, who could have thrown about 3 more last night. This team hasn't. They keep telling me they're going to get a lot of turnovers. They haven't gotten one yet this year. So this is on the defense. It is time for them to step up It's time for them to go win a game for them. They're going to be leaning on them. And the thing that concerns me most about the offense, well, Jayden played the whole game the other night. They had one play of 20 plus yards, one. So they have like no explosive plays, explosive plays down the field. And if Mariota is starting, are the Raiders going to even respect a downfield passing game? And I don't know. Well, we'll just have to see when we get there if they're going to kind of force the issue to try to see if Mariota can get the ball down the field. Like, this game screams low scoring. The team who turns the ball over loses. You know, the team who can control the clock, like the Raiders the other night, they had an 11-minute drive.
Yeah.
11 minutes. They ended up with 9 points. They had an 11-minute drive in the middle of that. Like, this thing screams that it's going to be low scoring. And I just hope that we're on the right side of it. And Cliff is really going to earn his money here this week, because he might be missing his quarterback. We'll see. But he's definitively going to be missing his best blocking tight end, his lead running back, if you will, and his number 3 wide receiver. These people are not playing this weekend. So he's really going to earn his money this week. For sure. And it's funny because, all right, Vermilion City said, is it just me, or has there been no real desire to establish the run? They rushed for 220 yards in the first game. Yeah. I know this is a what have you done for me lately, but so the first game, yes, they did 220 yards. So, and some of that was Jayden scrambling, but not all. Like, they did a good job there. And I will say this, the Raiders defend the run well. That's against the Chargers want to run the ball. I think it was like 3.1 yards per carry. And then New England wants to run the ball. It was like 3.9 per carry. So and some of those were like scrambles. So they have done a good job in that area. But there are ways you can hurt them. But I think it goes back to what you said, Bram. You can't turn it over. And the defense, no takeaways in the first 2 games. Like, this was a problem last year, and it's supposed to be better this year. A massive emphasis on it. And you can do different things with your pressures and still no takeaways. That has to start changing. If you want to turn, like, the way you can offset injuries and offset this stuff is make some freaking plays. That's how you can do that. Yeah. The no turnover thing, because they preach it so much, it just hasn't happened. And frankly, in the Green Bay game, I don't really recall many moments where they could have got a turnover. Like, it wasn't like they were close to this or close to that, or dropped this pick or had this strip sack that got away from them. Like, none of that was happening. So they are going to have to go out and make some plays. I kind of felt this way before all the injuries hit, that the defense was going to have to lead the charge, just because I was a little concerned the offense wasn't clicking throughout the summer, and it might just take some time. Right. And I was convinced it would catch up to it. Like, Terry McLaurin is not going to average 3 catches and 37 yards for the entire season. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm not surprised that the heavily targeted players are Ertz and Debo. They practiced the whole summer. So it'll come around. Like, I'm convinced all of this stuff is going to come around. They'll get Cosme back. I think that'll allow them some flexibility. I agree about Connerly. He is really getting baptism by fire here. He's gotten really, really tough matchups. I saw someone write on the chat, like, do you think they should put Wiley in? I don't know the answer to that. Like, I'm not really totally sure. I don't know whether they're considering anything like that. I guess we'll find out. That might be asked of Dan Quinn tomorrow as they get set for practice. I don't know. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not. I believe he's going to be a very, very good player, but this is another one. I'm not a little bit surprised that, considering who the matchups were, who they were playing early in the season, that, and what we had seen throughout camp, that there were going to be some moments, some tough rookie moments. We've gotten accustomed to seeing Jayden Daniels not look like a rookie, Sandra Still not look like a rookie, Amos doesn't really look like a rookie either. But you know what? This one is, and that's okay. Like, he's going to end up being a very good player, but he's having a few tough weeks. He's learning this league's very different for sure. Well, and then the question is, then you have to do a lot to help him. And so, and first game they did last week, they tried to at times, but it just didn't matter. And so, he improved throughout camp. He's got to get a lot better now. And this is a different ball game. So I don't know with Wiley. During the game, I tweeted, like, you kind of have to consider that because it was bad. And you can't, the hard part is the thing, Bram, like, early in camp, I remember talking to people there, like, hey, they could always do what they did last year with Coleman and Lucas, just kind of rotate them and let them ease in that way. Yes. But he showed a lot of progress in the last month, starting with that Patriots scrimmage. And so I think they felt comfortable with that. But it's been a really hard road for these first few weeks.
So, I don't know. And then, it's funny because I know like Lattimore is getting picked on, but I would say this, like Mikey Samerstill had a tough first quarter the other night. It's not, I think Amos is playing well. I think the other two, and even with, I think some of that too, and this is where I'm curious to see, Bram, because, they like to play man-to-man. And Green Bay did a really good job with some rub routes and just getting them into traffic on some of the crossers and creating open spaces. Like Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers will hurt you in that. So will Turner. So like they have guys who can hurt you if you do too much of that. So you've got to figure out a way to play better in man when it's in man coverage, and just find a way that if you know these crossing routes are coming, linebackers got to stay there, or maybe can you bump, maybe just switch assignments on some of these things, because the Raiders will do that. I'm watching I think it was a Chargers game where they got them on a few routes where they motioned to a bunch or a stack, and they're the defensive back staying with their guy, and it's just an easy out. Like it's so. I think that's something that's going to have we'll have to see too. But
yeah, I think this point, I agree with this. Green Bay put Lattimore in motion constantly. So they saw something there that they thought would be an advantage for them. And that's something obviously clearly to watch here, moving into the season, that they did that. Teams are going to replicate things like that worked. In this case, like, again, it is who you play. Russ in week 1, Russ doesn't really put the ball in harm's way very often. I was surprised to see him throw the ball downfield as much as he did against Dallas, because he wasn't doing it against Washington, because if you get pressure on him, he'll either run, throw it away, dump it off. That's just kind of the way he plays. I thought he was an advantageous pick for us. I thought in week 1, I preferred to play him over the unknown of Dart or even Jameis, who can chuck it down the field. I actually thought that was I appreciate, like when that happened, I like this, actually, the matchup for us. Love, similarly, Love hasn't thrown a pick in 9 games. So like he got lucky in week 1. There was one he should have been a pick, but like in 9 games he hasn't. And I noticed this even in the red zone. He's very patient with the ball. He doesn't really put it in harm's way. When he misses, it's not a miss that could be picked. It's, he overthrew somebody. In one case, he underthrew what could have been a touchdown, but he overthrew people. Like, he doesn't put the ball in harm's way either. This is a different quarterback this week. This is why I really want to see turnovers. This quarterback will hang in there too long, will run around a little wildly, will put the ball in harm's way. He'll throw the ball in dangerous spots. This is the week. Like, this is the week the defense needs to step up and make a couple of plays. They are getting consistent pressure, and if they continue to do that against an offensive line that was missing one of its top guards a week ago, and I don't know whether he's going to be back or not, get some consistent pressure on this guy, he's going to give you opportunities. It's a big deal this weekend. It's time for them to do the ball is life thing, get a couple of turnovers, flip a game upside down, help out an offense that really needs it very badly right now.
Yeah, and then I could go back to like a guy like Jalen Lane on punt returns. Like, I still think he's going to have a big one at some point, but you've got to get those opportunities. But yeah, I agree, Bram. And that's one of the disappointing things in the first 2 games is no takeaways, because they definitely need it. And,
I mean, the other one too, that's real. I mean, think about this, like the opponents are 32% on third down. Like, that's really good. 32% on third down against them. That's really good. The red zone defense was terrific in week 1. They got to stop again in week 2. I think Green Bay went 3 for 4, but they got to stop there. So they limited points there. And the other one I think that really got me from the other night was they had twice perfect field position, including a Debo big time kick return, and couldn't cash in on either one of them. These are the things that I think right now are the difference. And the other thing that I would point out that I just feel like needs to change, and this is a big switch from a year ago, they were money in the 2-minute drill a year ago, like beyond. They handled it well. The time management was handled extremely well. They scored often in the 2-minute drill. This is back-to-back weeks at the end of the first half where it did not go well and was nearly a disaster the other night. They were very lucky. They tried purposefully to run the clock all the way down, not use any of their timeouts, settled for a long field goal, and ended up getting lucky that Green Bay did not make what should have been a very makeable field goal with almost no time on the clock. And of course, in week 1, they had the fire drill that ended up in an intentional grounding and took points off the board. That's a chip shot field goal, bare minimum. They have been, as they like to call it, winning time moments. They were incredible at that a year ago, like uncanny incredible at that. that's got to change too. And that's probably my biggest surprise of the whole operation is they were so good at that stuff, at these what they call the winning time moments, that's been missing here early in the season, and it's been a difference for sure.
All right, Commanders fans, this is for you. Level up with the brand new AAA Commanders MVP membership. You'll receive all the benefits of AAA, such as 24/7 roadside assistance, plus chances to win game tickets, access to exclusive team events, and experiences, along with 15% off Commanders gear at the online pro shop. Already a AAA member, add the Commanders MVP membership for free. Head to AAA.com/Commanders to upgrade or join the squad and put your fandom in drive. And Bram, like to that point too, sometimes it's just a couple big plays change the game, change the momentum of a season even, right? And, like, I'm not sitting here panicking. Like, the worst thing for me was not the loss. It was because we saw a similar loss, like you said, in Green Bay. We saw, like the first game of the year against Tampa. That wasn't a pretty game either. The difference for Jayden as a passer in that game was, or offensively, he could make plays with his legs. Green Bay's too fast for that. So, we've seen these games, so you don't want to be overly concerned with it. I just would like to see more rhythm and momentum from the offense, because that's something we have. Like last year, Bram, Terry McLaurin, first couple games, we had 39 yards. But you saw all summer the connection with he and Jayden. They've got to get that back. And the sooner they get it back, when he can start making big plays down the field and making some plays, then you have a chance to start to say, okay, now you can start going. But, and going back to your point about Mariota, he missed time last year in camp too, but he missed multiple weeks. And that, so it's not like he was working with McLaurin or all these guys either. So it's just tough. It's just tough. Not ideal, but they've got to find a way to win this game, period.
Yeah. They just have to find a way to do it. I don't care what the score is. They just have to find a way to win. I'm hoping the defense kind of carries the day here a little bit. And Mariota was very good, last year in the offense, but this is a very different group. And they are missing it's not just Jayden, whether he goes or not. They're missing other people. They're going to be relying more on a rookie running back suddenly now. Like, this is when they traded Brian Robinson. I didn't disagree with the decision to do it, but it is a bet when you do that, and you're going to end up relying on younger, inexperienced people to carry the load if something like this happens, which it did. The Bates injury to me is a very big deal for them from all of their schematics, just the way they block things, the way they protect their run game. It's a really big deal that I think he's not out there. So, this is going to be this is a clench your butt cheeks game here, because you kind of can't lose this one. It's a home game against this team on a short week. You got to find a way to win. I do really feel like if the defense plays the way with the ferocity they played in week 1, I think they're going to get rewarded with turnovers. And if that happens, then I think Washington's going to end up winning. That's what I think is going to happen. And
I do want to address it too, because if somebody, is it Petricor 793, is it fair to be concerned that Jayden will be at a high risk of injury considering he scrambles a lot? Well, sure. But then, but here's the thing. Like, I watched Joe Burrow get hurt the other day, and Burrow's been hurt a lot. Quarterbacks in the league get hurt, so, that's just the way it is. And, Lamar Jackson runs a lot, you know what I mean? Like, you're at risk anytime you go on the field. Andrew Luck was more of a pocket guy and got pummeled. So,
quarterbacks get hit.
And the other one is Bram E in there, and I want to put him on his misery, but because he had a lot of comments, and I appreciate it too. He was wondering too about are they the gamesmanship with this, and it's not like what they tell us, what they say publicly. As a reporter, you're also hearing stuff privately too. So this is not just gamesmanship about Jayden Daniels. This is a legit concern. Why they told us Monday? Well, because it was already out. We knew there was an MRI. There was stuff earlier that day. There was stuff on Sunday, day to day, et cetera. So rather than just sit there, they know they're going to say it. And then starting on Wednesday, they have to say stuff too.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's your job to try to find this stuff out. For me, I don't need to know this, because I do shows every day and I don't need to talk about what I know. So, in these cases, I don't even tell me what his status is. I'll find out when you find out. That's the way I kind of feel about it. Less is more for me in these situations. I don't need to know. I'd like to know before Sunday if he's not going to play, so I could prepare to call the game without him playing. Right. But outside of that, I'm cool. There's no reason to share with the world what our plans are, and I'm all on board with the team with that.
Right. No, and obviously my job is to try and find that out, to at least know what's going on. And so I can tell my editors, and sometimes there are times, a lot of times where I'm not writing a story on something, but I have to be kept abreast of it. And so I got to let my desk know, the editors know, because if they get surprised by something, it's not a good look for me. And by the way, tomorrow, you know what tomorrow is? It's the second vote on the RFK plot land. Now,
that's tomorrow? I didn't even know that. Wow,
yeah,
that is under the radar.
It's tomorrow. So like it's going to pass. Like it's not in doubt. Like this is just a formality.
Clearly, there's been no story suggesting otherwise.
Correct.
So,
like, I mean, it was 9-3 the first time. And so but tomorrow is it's the extra point on the game winning touchdown. That's where we're at now. Okay. So I'll answer this in Pac-Man. How long I've been with ESPN? Since 2013. So man, it goes kind of fast. So it's, yeah. So kind of hard.
I got one for you. I want to ask you about this because I saw a number of people write this in the chat, and I do think it's a viable thing to ask with what we saw last night. Tom Brady called Washington's first game. Tom Brady was in the coach's booth last night with the Raiders.
Bad look.
I'm sorry. It is a conflict of interest.
No, bad look.
It is.
I agree.
It just is.
Bram, I'm shocked that they let him do this. Part of the problem was he had already signed the contract for $35 million a year, and it's with the league partner. I mean, it's kind of hard, but I agree. Like, it's a bad look. You know, when he's in there, I know he's not in the building with these people. He'll be on Zoom interviews, etc. But you're going to find things out in those preparations that you can use for down the road, whether it's in a game or for off-season stuff. And I'm surprised that the league allows that. It is not a good look. I don't think it's going to have any bearing on it. I don't believe it will have any bearing on Sunday's game. I just think it's a tough look because nobody else is able to do that. No,
it is a conflict of interest. I don't want to think it's hyper, like in favor of the Raiders, but it is. He called their game 2 weeks ago. They changed a rule this year where they allowed him to be part of the production meetings, which they didn't allow him last year to be. 2 weeks later, there he is sitting in there, and he has every right to be. He's part owner of the team, and he's an asset for them. Why wouldn't he be in with, of all people, he's the one, like, of all owners, you're going to put the headset on. Yeah, he should put the headset on and talk to them. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. But I do agree with everybody who's tinfoil hatting it a little bit that it is not a great look. It is a conflict of interest. It just is.
I mean, it's hard to disagree. And you're right. Like, it will not have any bearing on the game Sunday, because if they need Brady to do that, like, it's still going to come down to guys making plays. It's not going to be anything that he picked up there. As someone else suggested, they can be judicious with what they share with him. Like, they're not going to sit there and say, like, oh yeah, Tom, we love this guy, and I hope nobody ever takes him off our practice squad. Like, they're not going to tell him that stuff. So I think they'll be judicious with it and keep it. The one thing too, and I think Dan Quinn had talked about, like, every game is very different. It's not like they're not doing the same things every game. Now, you can get a feel for personnel, but how they want to attack the Giants or Green Bay or the Raiders are three completely different ways on both sides of the ball. So if you don't know the game plan for that, like, we can all go, like, you can watch the film and pick up things on personnel, but they're not going to share anything that he can use down the road. But it is really limited to what's going on for that particular game, how they may want to attack the Packers, how they may want to attack the Giants. So I'm not worried about that. I just think it's a tough look for the league when he can use this information maybe for down the road at contract time or free agency, whatever. There is an advantage to that. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Bram. I got nothing else, Bram.
I'm just hoping for a win.
Well, listen, man.
Look, the Lions got routed by the same team, turned around and put up 50 on Chicago a week later. Things can change fast. They can.
Like, we thought the Giants' offense was the worst in the NFL. They go lights out in Dallas. So it's really hard to know week to week. Like, Minnesota looks like a different team right now, with or without JJ McCarthy. Like, there's teams just, Kansas City they're not the same team that they were. I mean, it's so hard to get a good feel. I'm not worried about the rhythm and all that as much as I am about the health, because health dictates so much. They were one of the healthiest 100%. Teams last year, that if you don't have that, it makes the season a lot tougher. So that's why, and as someone else too, like, you want to win this game, because, like, Atlanta and the Chargers on the road, 2 winnable games, 2 tough games.
Yes.
And so I think, that's why this game becomes very important. Not that the season's over if they lose, but I think you want to make sure you keep pace here a little bit.
Yep.
And I think Mariota has to play. He showed last year. It's just that you're going to have to run the ball at least a little bit better. But again, tough run defense, so it's going to be tough. Anyway, Brian, you got any final thoughts?
Just win, baby. Isn't that what the Raiders say? Just win, baby. That's all I want this weekend. Just win. I don't care what the score is. Survive in advance. And then hopefully the injuries won't start piling up. And then hopefully the offense will take a turn, because I know it's going to. It's just a question of when. But we got to get there with a record where when it does do that, we can take off again. That's all I hope for.
And are you sticking by your word about getting a Mark Davis haircut for this week? And you can wear it with the white.
For that one. Yeah.
You can wear it. You can wear it with the white tracksuit. So there you go.
All right. I got one of those.
All right. I think we're at the end now for sitting there talking about that. Anyway, folks, Bram, thanks for joining me. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll be back Wednesday night, Thursday morning with a midweek report, updating you on all the injuries, Jayden Daniels and the others, things we hear from the locker room, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.